So I mentioned before that you will occasionally see some of these dimensions written with a 4x or 3x or whatever, indicating that there are 4 instances of these. So this particular one you see in the bottom right-hand corner is an example of that. So there's 4 of them, and I hope it's pretty obvious that they are the 4 corners of the border. Okay. So I'm going to do this process to all 4 of these guys. 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, and then this one that's kind of a mess in here, but it will be the same. So this process is referred to as fillet. Some people call it fillet because they're French. So fillet lives right below trim, and it is a command for rounding or radiusing corners. Okay? And it does a lot of the geometry for you. All you have to do is tell it what the radius is, and it actually picks points on the 2 lines and it radiuses them for you, which is kind of nice. So fillet, you're going to click, and it's going to ask you to select the first object line, or, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff it can do. We are not going to enter any number here. We're going to click radius, or you can type R, enter for the hotkey. Okay? So again, you're going to click fillet, the tool, and then you're going to type or click radius. So you can type R or click either one. Now we're going to tell it. You're going to notice it says specify the fillet radius. So by default, you're going to notice that in those little carets, it's 0. So if you click fillet and then click lines, it does nothing, right? And the reason it does nothing is because it's a fillet radius of 0, which can't happen, right? So it just defaults to 0 and it errors out. So if you're having a problem, and I can't tell you the number of people that will do this, at least once, probably a dozen times. If you click fillet and you don't tell it the radius, it doesn't work. And you're going to sit there and be like, my fillet doesn't work. Of course it doesn't. You didn't tell it what radius. Okay? So from here, I'm going to click fillet, click radius, and I'm going to tell it that this thing is 0.36, enter. And you're going to notice it dumps me back now, right? This is the first line I had before I clicked radius. It dumps me back in the command, and now it's like, oh, okay, now that I know that information, what is the first object you want to click? So I'm going to zoom here. You're going to see me wheel in, just so you can see it a little easier. I'm going to zoom in on this corner, and it's pretty simple to use. You're going to click first line, and as you approach the second line, it's going to preview this for you. And once you click the second line, it'll round the corner. Okay, so if you missed all that stuff, I'm going to go fillet, radius, 0.36, enter, and then I'm going to zoom in on and click first line, second line, and it should round the corner. Now the cool part about this is, you guys remember that I can hit spacebar and it will repeat the last command, right? We just talked about that. I'm going to hit spacebar, and I don't need to enter another radius. It holds that value as the default from the last one I used, which is why it had 0, because I had never used it before. So I'm just going to go and click first line, second line, spacebar, first line, second line, spacebar, first line, second line, and I should have all 4 corners of my border rounded. So hopefully yours looks, in essence, like mine.
I apologize. How do you, so you don't have to keep entering there again?
You can just click fillet, the tool.
Right, yeah, I did that. I
Yep.
got all that, but
But
so
you
I
don't need
have
to
keep
click
going there.
radius again. Maybe you can just click fillet and then click the lines. Or you can hit spacebar. That's the repeat. Everybody have rounded corners? I think your overwhelming silence is yes.
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 So, at this point, we're going to do the inside ones for the smaller boxes.